Welcome back to the Dark Truth Diaries, the channel where secrets are exposed, betrayals are unpacked, and justice doesn't always look the way you expect. Tonight's story is one I hesitated to share, because this one didn't come from a police file or a newspaper archive. It came from someone much closer, someone I once trusted. Let me take you into a world where love becomes a weapon, where betrayal turns into strategy, and where a woman's heartbreak becomes the blueprint for a perfect revenge. This is the story of the girlfriend who used his affair to destroy his entire life. And trust me, you won't see the ending coming. My name is Aaron, and for most of my adult life, I believed I was a good judge of character. But then I met her. Her name was Danielle Carter, Danny for short. A soft-spoken, intelligent, almost impossibly attentive woman who walked into my life during a psychology seminar I taught 6 years ago. She wasn't my student. She was a guest researcher. Confident. Observant. The kind of woman who made you feel seen. I didn't know that being seen by Danny would eventually feel like being watched through a sniper scope. But I'm getting ahead of myself. At the time, Danny and I fell into each other's world effortlessly. Dinners turned into sleepovers. Sleepovers turned into shared vacations. And in a matter of months, she knew everything about me, my career, my childhood, my weaknesses, my ambitions. And most dangerously, my habits. Looking back now, I understand she wasn't just getting to know me. She was studying me. Truth is, I messed up. 3 years into our relationship, during a research conference in Seattle, I had a brief but stupid affair with a woman named Myra. It lasted 4 days. For days that would end up costing me my job, my reputation, my home. Everything. When I returned home to Danny, she didn't act suspicious. She didn't act hurt. She didn't act distant. She acted normal. Too normal. And that should have been the first warning sign. Because what I didn't know was that Danny already knew. Not because I told her. Not because someone else did. But because she had followed me. She told me much later. She had been planning to propose to me on that trip. And she wanted to surprise me. So she flew out secretly. But instead of surprising me with a ring, she surprised herself with the truth. She saw Myra. She saw me with her. And she didn't confront me. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She didn't even ask, why? She just watched. Quietly. Calmly. And that moment changed her. She went from being my girlfriend to being my executioner. For the next 6 months, nothing happened. No fights. No suspicions. No confrontations. Danny cooked for me like always. Went to work. Came home. Even surprised me with small gifts. She acted like the perfect partner. But the truth was that she was waiting. Waiting for me to relax. Waiting for me to trust her again. Waiting for the moment when destroying me would hurt the most. It started quietly. Emails I never sent showing up in my sent folder. Calendar invites for meetings I didn't schedule. Notes in my handwriting appearing in places I didn't remember writing anything. Then came the bigger things. A colleague told me I'd snapped at him last week. I hadn't. But he insisted. My department head questioned me about using research funds for non-academic purposes. I hadn't done that either. It felt like I was losing my grip on reality. This is where Danny's psychology background came in. She started gently suggesting I might be overworked. She said maybe I was forgetting things. Maybe stress was making me act out. And because she said it softly, lovingly, I believed her. She was building the foundation for what she would later use against me. One morning, I arrived at work to find security waiting. My office was sealed. My laptop confiscated. And my department head, normally calm and collected, looked at me with disgust. He handed me a file. Inside. Photos. Emails. Receipts. Messages. Even voice recordings. All pointing to one thing. That I had been having multiple affairs with students, misusing funds, threatening colleagues, and falsifying research data. It was enough to destroy a career instantly. The worst part? Everything looked real. My voice. My signature. My login activity. My handwriting. And in that moment, every small mistake from the last 6 months suddenly made sense. This wasn't stress. This wasn't forgetfulness. This was Dani. Dani. The woman who studied human behavior for a living. The woman who watched me cheat. The woman who learned exactly how to dismantle someone from the inside out. She had faked everything. Every document. Every email. Every receipt. Every recording. With her research access and tech skills, she created a parallel digital version of me. A version who was a monster. And she didn't hand it to HR. She handed it to the university board. To the ethics committee. To the donors. To local press. By the end of that week, I was jobless. By the end of that month, I was publicly disgraced. By the end of that year, I was bankrupt. Dani didn't raise her voice once. She didn't send a threatening text. She didn't reveal herself. She destroyed me quietly. Beautifully. Effortlessly. The night before I lost my house, she appeared at my door. Not angry. Not bitter. Just satisfied. She said, "I forgave you for cheating, Aaron. Truly. But I couldn't forgive how easily you lied to me. So I decided you needed consequences." I remember whispering, "You ruined my life." And she smiled. "No. I corrected it. I just made the world see who you really are." Then she leaned in close and whispered the last thing she ever said to me. "Never underestimate the quiet ones. We don't shout. We plan." And she walked away. Dani moved to another state. Got a new job. Wrote a best-selling book. A psychology book about manipulation and emotional control. People celebrated her as a genius. Meanwhile, I spent 2 years piecing my life back together. Alone, unemployed, and branded a liar. But here's the twist. A year ago, one of Dani's old colleagues reached out. He had found evidence in her old laptop. Unfinished versions of the fake files used to incriminate me. Enough to prove everything. Enough to clear my name. Enough to show the world that Dani Carter wasn't a victim. She was a mastermind. A dangerous one. A brilliant one. And someone who used my betrayal not just to get even, but to reshape my entire future. If you made it this far, you now understand why I say this is not just a story. It's a warning. Betrayal doesn't always lead to forgiveness. Sometimes it leads to strategy. Sometimes it leads to war disguised as silence. And sometimes the person who seems calmest is the one building your downfall piece by piece. If you want more stories like this, real, chilling, psychological tales of revenge and betrayal, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me again on The Dark Truth Diaries, where the truth is never as innocent as it looks.